are some of the best colored pencils we've tried. The ones with the least amount of pencil in them. Stay tuned to find out.
Hello and welcome to Stationery Test Drive, where every week we take tools like this that you use every day and take them on an artistic test drive. I'm Vishal.
This is Minjal.
I'm Samir.
And yes, as Samir said, these are the Koh-i-noor Hardtmuth or Muth Progresso Woodless colored pencils. It's hard to define what a pencil is, but we all know it. These certainly look like them. They look like colored pencils, but there's no wood and they're all color. So while I demonstrate them, Samir, why don't you and Minjal tell us about these things?
As I said, these are very different. They are in the shape of a pencil, but I guess most of us think of pencils as having some amount of wood casing in them, and these are just a stick of I guess sort of like a crayon, pretty much.
The pigment. Yeah.
The pigment with a plastic casing. So it's just a very thin casing that you can sharpen out like you would a normal pencil, but there is very little that makes it a pencil other than the shape, and they're also great.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah, we enjoyed using them a lot. So if you want the short version, yeah, that's it. We enjoyed using them. But the more pencil per pencil of the Progresso allows you to do things like this, which are you can kind of do with a pencil, but you can never, let's say, you can never make that point long enough, unlike a graphite pencil, right?
Yeah.
You can't shave it down to get that super long point that you then use.
Because even with something, and we've tried a bunch of colored pencils before. We've tried the Prismacolors, which are probably the closest to these as far as the texture of the pigment itself is concerned. But even those are maybe a few thick, the actual pigment, whereas here you have the entire thickness of the pencil that you can work with, which is just great when you want to do this kind of broad shading.
And at the same time, you can go in like a regular pencil, hold it the normal way, and do a very nice line. It's a lively line, and Minjal, this lively line is almost a feature of there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And having tested the Staedtler and also the IKEA pencils, the Mala color pencils, these actually... Wow, okay.
Okay, so we've encountered our first problem here.
Yes, I was just coming to that. Since there is no wooden casing, these pencils tend to be a little fragile.
We didn't plan this, folks, so this is literally live issues with this pencil, if you want to call it that. It's still usable. Let's just say that.
The good thing is that each piece remains perfectly usable.
I think there's maybe like a plastic membrane or coating here that needs to be... Okay.
So you can still sharpen it and get another point out.
Yeah. So you have two pencils now. Two short ones. Go and get a pencil holder actually for this. Maybe that's a better thing. If we're going to make one recommendation.
Right.
Go and find a pencil holder. You can get them everywhere for other different sizes of pencils. And I would suggest... maybe, I don't know, break one off, and because using this on a pencil holder is a little tricky. And I was not actually holding this as heavily as I usually would. I was not trying to put down like some really, So maybe if you have a light hand, then you don't need to do this. But if you,
I guess as far as strength is concerned, this is like the diametric opposite of the IKEA pencils we tried, which were meant for kids and were, I don't know, a centimeter or two thick.
Yes. And very, very sturdy.
And I think we've also then now inadvertently proven why the wooden pencil was invented in the first place.
Yeah.
Because clearly someone came up with this, the crayon, right?
Yeah.
Before, back in however long ago, they took earth and clay and fine clays and added pigments to them, and that's kind of what a crayon...
Yes, and speaking of crayons and clays, that actually ties in, because the Koh-i-noor company is kind of unique these days, because as we have gone through most of these, now 60 plus episodes, a lot of the stationery brands that we grew up with, which we thought were separate companies, are all kind of now large conglomerates owned by brand holding companies. Koh-i-Noor continues to be an independent company.
Wow.
And it's also one of the oldest ones. Koh-i-Noor started in 1790.
Ah. Was the Koh-i-Noor, I guess the Koh-i-Noor was around at the time?
Yes, it was named after the Koh-i-Noor diamond. It's from the Czech Republic, and it was started by a man called Joseph Hardtmuth, hence the name. Although it didn't start with his name in it, I think his name was put in by his sons in 1890 or something like that. What's interesting about pencils and Koh-i-Noor is that they started in 1790, but by 1802 they were the first ones to patent the making of a graphite lead by mixing it with kaolin or kaolin. It's a specific kind of silicate clay. So they were one of the first ones to standardize how and what is mixed into a
modern pencil
with a wood casing. And in fact, they were one of the first ones to put in like a cedar wood yellow casing, which was introduced in, I think, the New York World Fair, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
So they have a
which was a very popular Koh-i-Noor yellow pencil.
Exactly. So Koh-i-Noor, as much as this is a woodless pencil, has a huge and important history to do with the wood pencil.
Well, it's a great history, and they continue to make progress, hence the Progresso. I'm guessing that's where the name comes from. What we do is not really progress, because obviously I've broken one pencil already. Sorry about that. But what we do on this show is test drives. So not just little things like this, but we spend a little more time sometimes. And Minjal, you have spent a little more time. Wow, that is your test drive. That is... this is all Koh-i-Noor pencil, or did you use some regular pencil for the finer lines?
So the finer lines are with, the outline, the black outline is with the uni pins.
Our favorites.
And the coloring, the shading is with the Koh-i-Noor Progresso pencils.
It's such a very ink-like gradation that you got in here.
So I actually tried this on the rough cartridge paper and the smooth paper. So, with the textured paper, obviously you get some some whites in the background.
Right.
It's not very easy to blend on that kind of paper. The blending is much smoother on the smooth paper. So these are actually quite nice. I didn't end up breaking anything. I also tried to sharpen.
Yeah, sure, rub it in.
Yes, I also sharpened the pencils. And they are, like I mentioned earlier, extremely fragile. So I think applying a lot of pressure is not a good idea with these pencils.
Yeah, and I think we should point out something. The reason Vishal ended up breaking one right now and not earlier is because we have a felt background which takes in too much of the pressure, and you need to press harder to get any lines out of it.
Right.
So use it on a hard surface and then you're fine.
That's a good tip.
That is a good point. I did not think of it. This is the first time we are using this felt surface. It is very nice, but yes, not for drawing. Surfaces matter. If you are using like a wooden table or some kind of textured thing, you will get that texture transferred to this, and you will also get the resistance transferred to that. It's not just the paper, it's not just the pen, but it's the surface you're drawing sort of sandwiched in between. Which is why usually I put in like a sheet underneath it of the same quality and the same type, and that sometimes kind of helps to do a sort of a textural uniformity.
Yeah,
it kind of evens it out.
And one may think that it is just a color pencil at the end of the day, that every color pencil will be like the other one. But this one is actually quite different to use. It feels like a really nice waxy crayon.
Yeah.
Yes, and at the same time, it's vibrant without being overwhelmingly like gaudy.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of reviewers mention that they're not very easy to blend because they're fragile. But in smaller surface, like smaller areas, it is actually it blends quite well.
So what did you blend here?
So there's a blue and green. There's a
it's very subtle.
There's a crimson and orange. And I'm not sure the camera will pick it.
We'll get those in the B-roll, but the thing that I love about this is that you're right. It blends so well that you would think that it's almost like this color just being washed. Yes,
Yeah.
like a water soluble pencil. Are these water soluble? Have
No,
you tried
they're
them?
not. They're not. I tried it.
Okay.
So the Stedler Luna is the only one that we've tried so far, which was water soluble. The
Right.
IKEA wasn't. Prismacolor isn't, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe one of them was meant to be, but we didn't have very good luck with it.
Right.
I forget now.
I think we both, Samir and I and Minjal, we all had luck with our test drives. And as usual, even without planning it, since we don't really show this to each other before we do these things. Yeah, and you'll notice this once Samir's comes in as well, that we've kind of gotten a spread of, the, I don't know, just the variety that you can get with this. Mine is all, there was a bit of pencil underdrawing, but this is all the pencils. And yes, I did not break any of these, even though I was using them much more heavily. I think also the glancing angle may be an issue as well. So sound off in the comments if you know why something breaks easily. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing the kind of illustration that, I'm a 90s kid, and we kind of had this kind of illustration in editorial stuff, in advertising as well. And I never quite knew how to get it, because you try with a waxy crayon or a color pencil as a kid, a student grade thing, and you'd never get that lively line that they actually advertise. Whereas here, after I tried using it like a regular pencil, kind of like laying down, a base coat, and then I just mistakenly did a heavy line and thought, wait, that looks fantastic. Let me just do a heavy line or wherever I want it. And I think it just looks great. I would gladly use this set and these pencils again, even just one of them.
Yeah, and I just really love how you can get something that's so smoothly graded and something that's so rough and textured from the same instrument. That's not that common to be able to do, actually.
And I should say that this was zero effort, in the sense that I did it as a quick sketch, but at some point when I understood that I could just lean into that without the effort and just get that's what I did. I did not have to think of every line. This came together very quickly. Everything from these kind of textured, rounded reds to these very hard reds were done with the same pencil, just like a different stance change and a bit of very little effort, very easy. I can see why people in advertising, because that's where I've heard the name Koh-i-noor Hardtmuth color pencils before. I've heard it in the 90s from graphic designers and advertising people saying that, what, those are the best, just go and get those. And
yeah, I mean, Koh-i-noor has always produced some of the tools that are used in the sort of industry the most. I remember having one of their technical pens, and they were great too. So they are very dependable as far as the quality of theirs.
No, and I also use the Koh-i-noor Carpenter's pencil.
Oh, the Carpenter's pencil.
Yes.
Don't remind me.
So clearly they are, they're good, like you said, also like trades tools.
Yes.
I mean, 200 plus years now, 220 years at least, or 30 years of continuous operation making the same thing. That has to be some kind of record. I don't know, maybe there are more older pencil manufacturers in the world, but...
No, but it's also amazing. I remember visiting Prague, and they have standalone stores, with only Koh-i-noor stationery, and it is delightful. They are stacked with, every possible object that you can imagine, all Koh-i-noor, and they're a little expensive. But the quality, of course.
They are worth it. And I think Samir's test drive really shows that off. And you will finally get to see the range of all of these.
Yeah, I think the entire purpose of this, as I went along with it, was to just show the full range of it. Because as Vishal was saying, you can get these really sharp lines. And at the same time, you can use the side and get these beautiful gradations between the colors, which is, again, not easy to do with most... color pencils, and definitely not easy to do on a textured paper like this.
Yeah, they look like crayons, right?
Yeah.
On textured paper.
And obviously, we've mentioned this with color pencils before. You can get some really painterly, rich, rendered results with color pencils, but that can take hours and days of layering. This is maybe about an hour. So there's a lot more that can be done with this, but the fact that in an hour you can do even this level of rendering is just remarkable.
So other than the fact that you shouldn't use it on a bad surface and break it, or that maybe you should keep a pencil holder around, I can't think of anything too bad about these. They are worth it.
They're a little expensive where we are in India. A set of 12 would cost 3,500 rupees.
Right.
And I think in the US you can get them for $14-15.
Okay. Which is very reasonable. And let's say that if you are a professional and you're going through that much, you're putting down that much color.
Yeah.
3,500 for a set of 12
Yeah.
that are literally more pencil per pencil.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, the only thing I think that these pencils cannot do is that because of the very crayon nature of the pigment, you can't get those super sharp, fine points. So if you're trying to do any sort of hatching kind of coloring with it, that's not really going to work out. It gives you a nice sort of lively line. But if you wanted to do thin hatching, these are not the pencils for that.
I think in that case, if you're spending the money, there is the alternative of the mechanical color leads, like the Koh-i-noors from Pilot, I believe.
Yeah.
And those are good. I have tried those. Their color is very, it's good, it's subtle, but it is expensive as well. But also, if you want that fine line, you can get a 07 or a 05, I think, in that. And yeah, I think you should go and get the Progresso. Get a pencil holder. Don't put it on a piece of felt. Try it out. Or just, see, I think they do sell them in single ones.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Because I know a lot of people,
It should
especially
be-
these artistic grade ones, you buy them as they finish rather than buying sets.
Yeah, and that would be very useful with an instrument like this. Like even if you just want, a single red or something to highlight things in your other
Yeah.
materials and other work, it's worth it.
We've talked about non-photo blue. I'm sure they make a non-photo blue that is quite venerated. So yeah, 200 and something years of history. I think they're just getting started. Maybe the next one will be even better than this. We look forward to that. And we look forward to having you on this show again. And if you're watching later, then there are over 60 episodes from 2022. Then there are episodes this year, and who knows how many more by the time you're watching this. There are other shows on Inky Memo as well. And for all that information, you should go to inkymemo.com, which is our website, which has transcripts of many of these shows if you prefer reading them rather than seeing them. Individually, if you want to look at this artwork, we are all on social media. We have our own websites. You can find the links on screen or in the description. And we hope that you'll be back next time with us to see more stationery test drives and more other things from Inky Memo. Until then, I'm Vishal.
This is Minjal.
I'm Samir. And if you would like to look at a pencil with a lot more pencil in it, look at our episode on the IKEA Mala pencils. And if you want something that's a little less waxy, try out our video on the Prisma colors.
The Koh-i-noor. It's a gem.